Morning, this is Brian. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, and I'm here at the Penny Pines Trailhead here in the Laguna Mountain Recreation Area here in south central San Diego County. There's a little sign for the Penny Pines right there. I was last at this trailhead beginning of last year in January when I hiked up to Garnet Peak and a bunch of other little not trailside, but little cross-country peaks nearby. Today, I'm not heading to Garnet Peak. I'm actually going to head across here and join the trail down there. It's going to be a short hike today, nothing big. You notice it's almost 10:15. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, so that's why the early start didn't happen. But I do plan on heading across here to this trail and heading up to a very random peak. Very random peak. Not even listed on the topo maps. So I guess I'm going to be joining the Noble Canyon Trail, huh? Okay. Alright. So this peak's elevation is about 5,640 to 5,680 feet. It's a very random, unnamed peak, like a lot of the peaks I climb, especially here in the Laguna Range. So we'll see how this goes. Now my goal is to have the peak on my left. Basically, I'm going to follow this trail for a while, and then I'm supposed to catch a faint use trail to my left. It should take me the rest of the way. This should not be a very high elevation gain type hike, maybe a couple of hundred feet. The elevation around Penny Pines is close to 5,400 feet. The peak is between 5,640 and 5,680 feet. It's not going to be a big mountain climb today. So we'll see how that goes. We're a couple trail runners today. Alright. I think there's going to be a trail coming up. Alright. So I'm going to take the right fork here. If I catch a good use trail coming down, I might make a loop and come back here on the Big Laguna Trail. I might come down on that if I can find a good use trail descending the backside of the peak. But I'm going to go ahead and ascend up the Noble Canyon Trail. I have to see if I can find a good place to get a good thumbnail of this. Yeah, like I said, today's going to be a relatively short hike. Nothing huge. We'll see how this goes. So we're going through a huge patch of Palmer ceanothus over here. A lot of it. See what cool things I can find today. Hopefully some good wildlife. Hopefully some cool views on the peak. Alright. Botanically, got ourselves a beautiful resprouted Utah serviceberry. Hemilachyr Utahensis. And of course, lots of California black oak and an occasional coulter pine. Weather right now is relatively comfortable. A little warm. That's to be expected. We are entering midsummer now. Pretty nice fragrance along this trail too. It's mostly the younger pines. These look like mostly coulters for the most part. For the most part, I see far more Jeffrey pines than I even see coulter pines. So pretty cool to see some coulters in the area. Well, it looks like we're gonna have another good year on the black oak acorns. This will be the 3rd year in a row. Wow, this is cool. Yeah. This will be the 3rd decent year in a row of black oak acorn production. I'm really happy to see that again. Some years you won't get anything. Some years you barely get any acorns on these trees. But I'm happy to see that. There's a little bit more forest further along that ridge, somewhere where my peak's going to be located. It's nice to finally be in the mountains. The first time in quite a while. Actually, this is the first time I've been to Laguna Mountain Recreation Area in the entire year of 2025. Last time I was here was in October. Well, yeah, looks like we got more coulter pine. Yeah, those ones up there, those are coulters. The ones further off that way might be Jeffrey's, though. But I see what looks like a lot of coulter pine up on that ridge. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to shoot a few photos too, to add some photography to this video. All right, got ourselves a western chokecherry. Yes, this is a very common plant here. Prunus virginiana variety demissa. Already starting to have a little preview of what's to come, especially in October. So yeah, the air looks very clear today up here. Alright. So eventually I'm going to have to look for a use trail branching off to my left. It looked pretty well on Google Earth, looked pretty well followable to get up to the peak. You know how most of my hikes go. Looking for peaks. Thinking about them peaks. Yeah. Late September, I'm gonna have to start thinking about my next California fall color video. Probably gonna be doing that every month. Glad I'm getting to the mountains this week. Next week it'll be too hot up here. It's supposed to be around 90 degrees. Last week would have been perfect to go to the mountains, but I ended up not wanting to drive far and ended up doing that hike at Mission Trails, Powell's Peak, Coles Mountain. Here we are, right near the pines. Like I said, I gotta look out for a use trail getting me up the hill, so I'll have to see where that'll come out. Yeah, a lot of these definitely look like coulters. Some nice views down to the valley. You got a good view of Garnet Peak. Very rugged view of it. There's good old Garnet Peak right there. That's a cool peak. Views up there insane. And then down below us is Pine Creek Road. It's not that far from Pine Creek Road, just a little above it. All right. I'd like to have been out here earlier, but like I said, I had a 9 o'clock doctor's appointment. Didn't take very long. Got to the trailhead just a couple minutes after 10. So I made really good time getting here for my doctor's appointment in El Cajon. So I did pretty darn well. Yeah, this is a pretty hike too. Here's a larger Utah service berry. Is it producing? I don't know. Doesn't look like it's producing too much. Oh well. Birchleaf mountain mahogany. If you're driving up Sunrise Highway, this plant is producing seeds all over the place. Cercocarpus betuloides, variety betuloides. They are producing tons of seeds. So if you're going up Sunrise Highway and around early August and you see like a sheen of white on some of the slopes, those are the seeds of mountain mahogany. And up here it'd be Cercocarpus betuloides, variety betuloides. That's some nice views. Yeah, I think this is a, yeah, here's a pretty decent sized coulter pine right here. This is a nice one. Pinus coulteri. That's a pretty decent sized one. Now, I've seen much bigger ones at Palomar Mountain. Some of the coulter pines at Palomar Mountain are ridiculously big. The size of medium-sized Jeffrey pines, which tend to be much larger trees, but this one's no shirker in the size department right here. Wow. And I love the really wide conical shape of this tree. This is a beauty. A decent sized trunk too. Yeah. So if you want to check out some absolutely ginormous coulter pines, check out my latest ode video. I've done a couple of ode to coulter pine videos. But the latest one I did was back in late March at Palomar Mountain. If you want to see some truly remarkably huge coulter pines, but this one's no joke either. So. All right, I'm gonna have to get some photos of this area. Ooh, man, I hate it. I can't get good views of these mountain chickadees. There's a mountain chickadee going up this small pine right here. There we go. Poecile gambili abbreviatus, Western Mountain Chickadee. All right, time for some photos. All right, so I'm climbing up into this forested area. We're getting some Jeffreys mixing in too. I can tell by the cones. Some of these are Jeffrey pines. Probably this one here. Probably a Jeffrey. Did see some Jeffrey cones on the ground. Some good views up here. Get some good views down into the valley below us, to the upper portions of Noble Canyon. Right near the head of Noble Canyon down here. Wow. Good views up here. I don't know how many views there'll be on the peak. We'll see about that. I still gotta start looking for a use trail to get me the rest of the way up to peak 5640. But yeah, I can definitely smell that awesome pine resin in the air. And a lot of these are going to be Jeffreys too. I really got to look out for a use trail to get up there. I'm not trying to bushwhack today. I'm trying to stay on trail as much as possible. It's a warm day. I don't want to surprise any rattlesnakes in the brush. It is beautiful over here, though. Gosh, man. There's some insane views over here. All right. Been so distracted by the views and everything. Who knows if I've already passed the use trail, but I think you have to go a little ways before you find it along the Noble Canyon Trail. So if I can make the connection without bushwhacking, I might make my return trip down the way via the Big Laguna Trail, maybe. See how that turns out. Otherwise, this will be an out and back from the Noble Canyon Trail. Yeah. Looks like we're gonna have a pretty decent acorn year on these black oaks. Really happy to see that. It'll be the third year in a row. 2023 was a good year. 2024 was a good year. 2025 looks like it's going to be at least a decent year. And I'm really happy to see that. Yeah, see, we're getting more into Jeffreys now. Yeah, these are more Jeffrey pines here. Yeah, that trail should be pretty well defined. It should be pretty followable from what I saw on Google Earth, so I'll have to keep looking out for it. And then we got some Rus aromatica skunk brush growing along the side here too, which is nice to see. But yeah, these views are insane. I love this Upper Noble Canyon viewpoint. And yeah, down there is Pine Creek Road. That road cutting through the grove of trees there. And of course, Sunrise Highway is over there below Garnet Peak, where Sunrise Highway is. Feels good to be in the mountains. This is the highest elevation I've been to visit in quite a while. Over 5,000 feet. I don't know if it's been the highest elevation this year. But, alright, let's see if I can find that trail. I think I might have found it already, I think. Okay, I think this is it right here. So this is where I'm going to leave the Noble Canyon Trail and start climbing up towards the ridge. So, once you get through a nice chunk of that grove of pines, there's this little scuffed in use trail here, and I'm going to start heading up. So, I'm going to take a few pictures here, and I'm going to start bearing left and going up this hill. Alright, here we go. As these seeds are blowing all over the place. Alright. I was hoping this was going to be easy to follow, and so far it looks to be the case. Arms are a little itchy, so the pine needle scraping against it feels good. I'm going to see if I can make a loop out of this. We'll see how that works out. All right, keep you posted. Shouldn't be that much of a climb. Wow, it's nice to be in the pines again. It's been a while. All right, I'll see you in the next clip. All right, after a pretty short climb. Pretty high up on the ridge now. Should be nearing the high point pretty soon. Yeah. A lot of Rhus aromatica growing here. Yeah. Rhus aromatica. Good old skunk brush. Very common find here in the Laguna range. Doesn't look like they really fruited this year, which is a shame. It's been really cool to get some fruits. They're supposed to flavor your lemonade. It's supposed to flavor your drinks nicely. If you get the ripened red fruit off of them. Seems to be a fence here on the left side. But I think I'm just about to top out. I think I'm just about to summit this one. I think this trail goes to the high point of it. There shouldn't be any need for bushwhacking or anything like that. All right, I think I'm just about at the summit. I think. Just a little further. The high point's over there. Just watch out, don't get your clothes snagged on this barbed wire fence. Just be careful. I'm gonna lie, pretty neat walk up here. My first Laguna Mountains peak of 2025. Pretty easy hike. A little steep on the use trail coming up, but doesn't last very long. Let's see. Let's see what's up over here. Just gonna look around and make sure there's nothing else higher before I go over there. So this should be this is the summit of the ridge. Yeah. I just want to make sure. Some slightly higher ground in here, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and look for it. We'll have to do a little bushwhacking, I guess. Somewhere around here. I can find where it is. It's actually inside the shrubs. The high point's right in here. But I'm gonna count this. I'm gonna count this over here because I'm not bushwhacking through all that. Scrub oak and Ceanothus palmeri. I think I'm good on that. Yeah. So this is it. This is Peak 5640. Not even listed on the topo maps. Just an elevation contour, 5,640 feet. So, yep, this is it. Peak 5640 here in the Laguna Mountain Recreation Area, Laguna Mountains of Cleveland National Forest. Well, we do get some views up here. Some. I might have to point out some more views to the east. Back on the use trail, just below the summit. I'm going to go ahead and do I don't know, maybe a 240 view point here. All right, so I'm going to start off by looking northwest towards the Cuyamaca Mountains over there. Right there to our west-northwest is the second highest point in our county. That is Cuyamaca Peak right there at 6,512. That left point, that left bump over there is 5,825 foot Hopashaw Peak, and that point on the right shoulder is Cherry Flat High Point. So that relatively flat, gently upsloping course is called Cherry Flat, which reaches the saddle underneath Cuyamaca Peak. Now we're looking west over some Ceanothus palmeri, of course. So now we're going to look southwest over here, and yes, we do have some good views to look and enjoy. Way down there in the haze, which is actually not as hazy as it normally would be this time of year, is San Miguel Mountain over by Hamul and just east of Chula Vista. Right there, that right there is Guatay Mountain. That's a really cool hike. It's pretty steep and pretty tough in spots and is very rutted, but it's a very, very awesome hike. Very beautiful hike, and see some rare Tecate cypress trees up there. Check out my video from November of 2022 if you're interested in seeing what the hike entails and the awesome botanical finds along the way. And then right there, that really rocky one is Lions Peak over the eastern portion of Hamul and Lions Valley area. Then we have the broad ridge of the San Isidro Mountains, the southern San Isidro Mountains. The northern San Isidro Mountains are over in Anza Borrego Desert State Park to our northeast. But at the top of that would be Otay Mountain. And then, looking more south, you can see the really rough, rugged profile of Corte Madera Mountain, another part of Cleveland National Forest, near Lake Morena, as well as its higher neighbor, Los Pinos Mountain. Doing both of those peaks via the standard route would be an 11-mile hike with 2,600 feet of gain. A moderately strenuous effort, but just getting to Corte Madera would be more of a moderate effort. Just doing Los Pinos would be in the lower end of moderate. And then, what do we got over here? I'm not sure. That might be peak 5718. I'm not sure. It might be a little higher than that. But looking south-southeast, you can see the Laguna Meadows area, and you can see that rich Jeffrey pine forest that rims around the side of that. And then, looking a little more southeast, is the awesome Wooded Hill. That's an easy breezy hike and a beautiful hike, partially shaded in the wooded Jeffrey pines. And I believe this here is peak 5720. So that might be peak 5868. I'm not sure. One of the, I don't know. I'll have to double check that one. This one right here, I was considering, but it looks like it'd be a lot of bushwhacking, so I think I'll leave that one alone, at least until the end of snake season. If I really want to bushwhack, I could maybe see some possible ways to get at least part way up there. But I believe that hill is just a little higher than we are. It's not on Peak Bagger. It's not on Peak Bagger, and it's about 5,725 feet according to Google Earth. And then we're looking towards the east, and we got Stevenson Peak on the far right there with the radio, with the little dome tower on it. And then we got that double bumped one on the left. From left is Hayes Peak, and the one immediately to its right is Monument Peak. So yeah, we got a good 240-degree view up here. All right, not bad. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take my summit selfie over by this little clearing on the other side of this, because I still want to finish my viewfinder. But I might have to interrupt my viewfinder with my summit selfie, because I'll have to go down the hill a little bit to get better views towards the east and northeast. I'm going to go ahead and get my summit selfie over here by these rocks, and then we'll point out some more views. Alright, so I'll probably do my viewfinder a little bit further down, because we are pretty hemmed in up here. But we do have some interior live oak right here. Some Quercus Wislizeni, Friday frutescens, and canyon live oak, Quercus chrysolipus, up here recovering from fires of the past. So I'm wondering, curious about maybe going down the back side. So let me take a look and see if it looks doable. maybe join the Big Laguna Trail if I can, because the way up from the Noble Canyon Trail, pretty clear, slightly overgrown, but very easy to follow. Now, will this side be the same? That remains to be seen. Because the Big Laguna Trail is down there somewhere. I don't think it's even that far from here. I'm just going to try to stay away from this barbed wire fence so I don't get shredded on it. This almost looks like a fuel break here. Will I be able to join the Big Laguna Trail? It would be cool to make a loop out of this. It would be really cool. There's some common chamise right over here. Some adenostum fasciculata. No surprise there. You'll find that even at some of the highest locations here in the lagunas, above 6K. And we've got these scrub oaks here. I don't know if these are Cornelius Muelleri or Acutidens. Both are very closely related. I think there is a pathway through these shrubs here. So I guess maybe it might be a 240-degree viewfinder today. Oh well. I mean, looking east, you're going to see the Santa Rosa Mountains. You're going to see Garnet Peak. But let's see. Yeah, this looks like an overgrown but followable trail here too. This looks like this could lead me right down towards the Big Laguna Trail. And maybe I'll have some forest on the way back so I can vary up the scenery. Very beautiful over here, I'll tell you that right now. It's very beautiful out here. Yeah, this is a pretty followable trail. It looked very faint on Google Earth, but it looks very easy to follow in front of my eyes. You just gotta watch your step. There are some rocky sections coming down this. The other side going up is just some slightly loose soil that's not too bad to ascend or descend depending on your hike. But it would be nice to make another loop out of this so I can vary the scenery up and maybe hike in some more forested locations. Alright. Not quite class 2, but definitely rocky. Just gotta look for the Big Laguna Trail down there. I think I see a line cut into the shrubs, so that might be it. I wanted to definitely come back down this side if I could. I mean, if I were to go for Peak 5720, I would probably want to do this, or I could have gone around the backside of the peak I just visited to do that, but I just figured let's try some adventure today. Alright, I'll see you down the way, and I'll see if I can intercept the Big Laguna Trail hopefully pretty soon. Alright, so working my way down this, holly leaf redberry, Rhamnus ilicifolia. Here we go in fruit. Yeah, always love the fruits of these red berries. The spiny red berry, Rhamnus crocea. The holly leaf red berry, Rhamnus ilicifolia. The two species I see the most. And then hairy red berry, Rhamnus pilosa. Also gets that same type of fruit on it. They're very close, all very, very closely related. Sometimes considered all subspecies of spiny red berry, sometimes. Alright. So it's definitely rocky coming down this side. If we're going down the back side of the peak. So just watch your footing. I wouldn't say quite class 2 yet, but definitely where you'll have to step carefully. And it's a little overgrown over here. But again, if you're right next to this barbed wired fence, once you get past that rocky section, you're on the trail and you're fine. Now it looks like we are going to, looks like we're going to have to bushwhack now. Very lightly, but I'm just going to look down and see what's in front of me. Very overgrown over here. Alright, still looking for the Big Laguna Trail. Now the East Trail looks like it disappears all outright. I'm still following the fence, so I'm still pretty good right now. California goldenrod. Solidago velutina subspecies californica. Looks like it's going to be blooming in a few weeks. Be prepared. Late August through early October. It's a magical time. Fall flowers and the beginning of the fall colors of the trees and shrubs. So our use trail completely disappears over here. Okay. Yeah. So now I'm completely off trail right now. So now I'm bushwhacking. Now I gotta get myself through the ceanothus. Luckily, it's not that bad. I'm trying to see if I can find the Big Laguna Trail. So if I have to, if this ends up becoming an issue, which it looks like it might be, I'm gonna have to climb back over the peak. Yeah, it's a bushwhack now. Oh boy, I set myself up for this one. Oh yeah, I did. Ooh, I set myself up for this one pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I set myself up for this one. Oh god, and the fence is right here too. Oh boy. Well, this is no good. Ay ay ay. The barbed wire fence is right there too. So, oh yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to do a little route finding. Now I got sticks all on my shirt. Oh boy. Yep. Get up here and see. I might have to climb back over the peak. It's all bushwhacking here. There's no trail left. Wow, that really fizzled out on me. Dang. Well, this kind of bites. There's my peak up there. Ay, ay, ay. Whew. That's all bushwhack from here. All of it completely, 100%. So, oh boy. Really not wanting to do all that bushwhacking today. So I guess I'm going to have to go back from whence I came. Really don't want to do this today. Really not in the mood for a lot of thrusting and bushwhacking. I wanted this to be a really easy hike. Alright, well, sometimes you don't get what you hope to get. Maybe I'll just follow this. Oh no, I thought the fence went that way. Ay, ay, ay. Well, looks like, unless I find a use trail going elsewhere, I'm gonna have to bushwhack again. All right, well, it happens sometimes. Oh boy. It's kind of not what I wanted to do today. I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm gonna have myself an easy day out here in the Laguna Mountains. And here I am bushwhacking again. Oh well. That's turned into a pretty decent one too, at that. Woo-wee! Okay, that was not what I was supposed to do. All right. I guess I'll have to climb back over the peak again. Oh well. Unless I missed part of the use trail. Let's see, let me go this way and see. Whoa! No, definitely not the way to go. All right, well, trying to. It looked like the use trail eventually connected, but I guess not. Oh well. You hike and you learn. Whew. I got a little very gently scraped on this one. Wait a minute. Is this it over here? Let me see. I came from that way. Let me see if this is it here. Let's see. Let me get over here and see. Here we go again. Time to plunge into the shrubs, baby. Yeah, I got the impression this is not it either. Let me see. I'm not gonna go too far. Nope, this ain't it. Folks, this ain't it. Yikes. Yeah. Okay, well, I gotta climb back over that peak, I guess. It's been fun to make a loop out of this. Oh well. Yeah. Well, I guess there's a little bit of adventure in this one. All right. Back to the slightly overgrown section here. Oh boy. I guess this is going to be an out and back. Ooh-wee. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this use trail completely faded out. 100%. All right. So I'm going to have to go back over the rocky section again. All right. Well, it's enough filming. Climb back up this and back down for an out and back. Oh well. I was really thinking this was going to make a good connection. It'd neat to show off some other sections of this area. Oh well. It happens. Back up I go. So you see, I've given up on trying to push through. I really didn't want to bushwhack like that. Yeah, that's enough bushwhacking for me today. So, just gonna keep angling up this. Yeah. Going up this steep slope with all these rocks on the trail. Much easier than bushwhacking. Much easier than trying to bushwhack and try to route find through that chaparral over there. Yeah, I was thinking the Big Laguna Trail is going to be down there. I think it's a little further off. But like I said, I'm not willing to do a lot more bushwhacking today. I'm just not in the mood for it. I got to my peak, so I'm good on that. I just wanted to vary up the scenery for us a little and do a loop, which would have been cool, but you know, if it means horrible thrash fest, yeah, I'm not really feeling that today. Just gotta go up these. Some of these I have to step up pretty high. I don't have very long legs. Not a very tall guy. So going up these rocks, I really have to step into it or step upon it. Oh well, at least I tried finding a different way. I'm not that far from the top. It's a very short climb. That's a good view here. Yeah, I think that might be 5868 over there. That might be, I don't even know, maybe 5718. I think there's a 5719 or something. There's a peak about that elevation. There's a peak 5720 something, but one looks quite a bit higher than the other, so not sure which is which from this vantage point. Look on Google Earth, I could probably figure it out. Shouldn't be that hard. All right. All right, so let's just gently climb it back up this. All right, keep working my way back up. See near the peak and start descending the other side of this. All right, excuse me. It's been a long week at work, I'll tell you. But I'm back on the summit area, back on the summit of the ridge, getting ready to go down. It's a good thing I didn't continue bushwhacking, because I could be blindly going through the shrubs and then rub up and scrape myself on the barbed wire fence, which I really don't want to do. I really didn't want to do that. Luckily it didn't happen, but that would hurt like the dickens. There's a lot of slender sunflower up here too. It's all past its blooming. A lot of Helianthus gracilentus. Coming up here a month or two ago. Wow, it would have been really neat. Late May and June. Seeing those in bloom would have been really neat. Oh well. Pretty neat little area. So I like coming out to these random peaks because you get to see stuff that a lot of other people don't really see. A lot of other people don't really get to see all this stuff, especially if you don't go up and do these random peak climbs. So if I were to rate this hike, just the getting to the summit and the out and back, this would be a pretty easy hike. This would probably be a maybe 1.5 out of 10. Maybe a 2 for some steepness. But 1.5 to 2 out of 10. So this would be well in the easy category. It still is, even though I got to that bushwhack. So my hike is still in the easy category. I'd say more like a 3. Oh, here's another interior live oak right here, by the way. It's a nice vigorous specimen here. Don't see any acorn cups or acorns developing. This is another shrub interior live oak here. It's been a while since I've been around this. Such a beautiful large shrub slash small tree. Now if you go further north, you'll still get the shrub ones, the Quercus wieslezeni variety frutescens. But then you'll also get the tree interior live oak, especially when you go up towards Kern County, and that's variety wieslezeni. And that's always a pleasant find too. All right, work my way back down this trail here. It smells nice over here too. The pine in the air. Wow. Oh yeah, are we gonna get any blooms this year on the Wright's buckwheat? This is Eriogonum Wrighti variety membranaceum. Then we had a good year on the Mountain Woolly Star too. Definitely had a good year on that, it looks like. I'm past the peak now. Yeah, the flowers are dried up, but from a few feet above, they're still pretty showy. I mean, here we go. Here's our Jeffrey pine right here. You can tell this area gets very windy. These trees are windswept, which is pretty common in very windy areas. So this ridgeline must get blasted. You can see that Jeffrey pine's top has been flagged back. It's called flagging. Plants have a really hard time growing against the wind. So in very high commonly windy areas, they like to cease their growth on the windward side and grow on the leeward side. And you go up to places that are really windy, like when I used to live in Orange County, I'd drive up to LA County, go up to the Angeles National Forest, and along those ridge lines, you see those Jeffrey pines are bent back pretty fiercely along the ridge lines. And these Jeffrey pines do the same thing here because it must get very windy. All right, so on my next clip, I'm going to talk about some of the views off in the areas that the 240 degrees didn't capture, because I'm going back the way I came because of the fact that the trail ran out on me. Ooh, is that a western gray squirrel? What do we got here? Right on that branch. No! Right there, that's a California ground squirrel right there. Autospermophilus beachy. Yeah, it's got this little light speckles on his darker brown fur. Just sitting there, just eating something, probably eating a seed or something. Not even running away. Usually these things will skip off really quickly. That little buddy. Yeah, right there. Autospermophilus beachy. Beautiful. And yes, a lot more Rhus aromatica. Yep, skunk brush central. There's a lot of skunk brush along this route up here. So if you come here in late September and early October, these shrubs will be colored up so beautifully, turning red, orange, some yellow, and even some purple. So, Rhus aromatica. In fact, the spotlight video I did back in 2021 was in I think it was in early October, and it was pretty much at peak color, and it was up in Angeles National Forest near. Oh, look at all those chickadees! I think those are those are something else. I don't know. Those are chickadees. But yeah, I went up. I think it was October 9, 2021. I did the hike up to, did a short little walk around Rosanita Saddle at 5,880 feet near Mount Hillier in the San Gabriel Mountains, LA County, and that's where I did my spotlight on Rhus aromatica. And yeah, those they were pretty lit. Speaking of lit, look at Western chokecherries. These little stalks here. Yeah, Prunus virginiana variety demissa. Never get tired of looking at that. Maybe this year, maybe I'll get some seeds and try growing it myself and see if I can cultivate it where I live. I have some scrub oaks sprouting right now. And I think they're Tucker oaks that I collected last October. And I collected them somewhere in Ventura County or Lockwood Valley. I collected Tucker oak acorns, and I had them in the refrigerator for a long time and for several months. And they sprouted roots, and now I have about 3 or so coming up right now in a planter. So I'm finally back to doing some gardening again. All right, so let's get some of these other views. Let me go down this a little bit, change my battery, and I will point out some more of these views for us. Okay, so I was basically able to point out from Monument and Hayes Peak all the way to Cuyamaca. So let's get the rest of the 80 degrees or so of views. So Cuyamaca Peak is behind that tree in the middle there. So now we're looking roughly north now. And there are some peaks that I've climbed in recent years. Right over there to our northwest is Pine Mountain at 5,640 plus feet. So it's about the same elevation as the peak I just climbed. So it's the flat top mountain right there that's covered in a pretty nice Jeffrey pine forest. Then I can see right there is Peak 5764 that I did on the same day I did Pine Mountain. That was back in January 2023. And I can see Pine Mountain Trail skirting underneath Peak 5764 and underneath Pine Mountain itself. And then, of course, looking more north, we got Sunrise Highway. And over there is Peak, the high one is Peak 5680. Peak 5680 to 5720 in elevation. Looking northeast, we're looking out towards San Jacinto, Mount San Jacinto right over there. Underneath it is Hot Springs Mountain, the ridge that's closer behind, the closer background in front of San Jacinto. Then I can also just barely see San Ysidro Mountain of the northern San Ysidro Mountains. One's in Anza Borrego. So that's San Ysidro Mountain poking up just right above this slope right here. So that's San Ysidro Mountain. I believe that's Peak 5661 that I climbed. It's the last time I did Garnet Peak, which I'll be pointing out momentarily. Then we have Toro Peak in the Santa Rosa Mountains. The high point of the Santa Rosa Range, way in the background. And then we got the jagged Garnet Peak. I did that hike back in January of 2024, the end of January, which included several other small peaks and hills, like that one right there, Peak 5663. Good views on those peaks, I'll tell you that right now. And of course we got basically the head of Noble Canyon. Noble Canyon heads down this way towards Pine Valley. And the Noble Canyon Trail, which I used to get to this use trail here, goes on for about 10 miles to get to, I guess, the Pine Valley Trailhead. Yeah, some good views up here. So I definitely had to take some time to do an 80-degree view of this area, but I couldn't do it on the summit because the shrubs were pretty high. Well, yeah, beautiful area. Glad I came up here. Really hoping to make a loop out of this. I mean, I could get down to the Noble Canyon Trail and try to, I think if there's a way you can try to meet up with the Big Laguna Trail, I think. But I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to end up doing that, I don't think. I'm just going to make this an out and back and just be satisfied that I got to a peak. And it looks like I'm going to have to take a few photos. Alright, so I'm already back at the Noble Canyon Trail. Seems to be a use trail here. I wonder if this connects with Pine Creek Road down there. I'm curious. Very curious about that. I don't know if I want to tempt fate. But there is a use trail that goes down this way. Almost tempted just to hike along Pine Creek Road. I don't know if I want to go through any more bushwhacking though, to be honest with you. Really not feeling that right now. But yeah, there's a paved ribbon of road, which is Pine Creek Road, that leads down towards Pine Valley, which is one of the lower spots here in Southern California. You're going to find Jeffrey Pine at 3,600 feet elevation. Pretty low for Southern California standards. Yeah, that's all Jeffrey Pine down there. I think those are all Jeffrey Pines. I don't think there are any Coulters, and definitely no Ponderosas. We're a little too dry for Pacific Ponderosa pine over here, to be honest with you. I'm just going to wander down this a little bit more and see if it makes contact with the Big Laguna Trail. I'm really not quite ready to end my hike yet. I'm really enjoying being out here and enjoying seeing this mountainscape that I've missed for so long. Yeah, look at that. Look at those choke cherries. Yeah, these ones are laden. Oh, wow, look at that. That is so beautiful. They are so cool looking. Western choke cherries are just so vibrant and red before they turn darker purplish red later on. So they are such a treat to look and see when you're out here on the trail. Let's see. We're going predominantly downhill right now. I'm just kind of curious. There is a lot of Western chokecherry over here. Let's see. Well, at least I'm back on trail. I'm not planning on going off trail anymore today. That's not in my plan book for today, folks. Not really feeling like doing all that. I don't feel like doing too much of it. That's the backside of the peak here. Let's see right here. I don't feel like climbing several hundred feet more. I'm just going to go back the way I came. I was curious. Just a little curious about this. It's beautiful over here, though. It's very nice. All right. Let's get some photos of this. Yeah, so I decided against further checking along the Noble Canyon Trail. So this is going to probably go down probably hundreds of feet before it meant any other trail junction, or not at all, and I'd have to climb back up hundreds of feet. Sure is beautiful out here, though. It's getting really pretty going down the other side, too. Here's beautiful garnet, once again. And behind the, oh, there's another Coulter pine. Behind the Coulter pine is peak 5680, which is a peak also that I climbed. Another peak 5680. Been on a few peaks that were 5,680 plus here in the Lagunas. Been up a few of them actually. Now, you'll notice that if you've seen some of my other videos versus videos of more recent, some of the elevations have changed on Peak Bagger. On some of the noted peaks that the Peak Bagger is, whether it's a named peak or just an elevation label. You notice that some of the elevations have changed. For instance, the so some of the, I guess they're using, I don't know who's doing the LiDAR, but somebody's doing LiDAR and getting, I guess, more precise elevations of the peaks. So you'll see the peaks with different listed elevations now. There's that. So yeah, you'll see updates. You'll see updates about that. So some of these peaks, different elevations might have changed according to the database. There's that gorgeous coulter pine again. That is a stunning tree right there. That is an absolutely stunning coulter pine. It's a beautiful tree. Gorgeous. I'd say it's pretty close to average for a mature height, but it's a pretty decent sized tree regardless. It's a pretty hefty tree. It's not all lanky like some of them are. This one, wow, what a beauty. I guess this one is maybe a little bit, yeah, larger than, I guess you could say it's larger than average. It's a pretty decent sized one. That trunk though, that trunk is no joke. Look at that. That is so beautiful. What a gorgeous tree. Yeah, it's just definitely larger than average. Height-wise, yeah, I'd have to say height-wise it's a little larger than average too. But usually between 40 and 70, and this is probably closer to 90, maybe 100, I don't know. But yeah, looks like its bark is starting to break out into plates too on the other side of the tree. So it's kind of doing some plating out. Wow, what a beautiful tree that is, gosh. All right, keep on descending and I will see you down the way. All right, so I barely took a few steps past that beautiful coulter pine in the center there. Now I'm looking at this pine right here. There's something interesting about this one. The cones are a little bit smaller, definitely smaller than your typical coulter pine cones. And looking up in the tree, yeah, sorry for the sun glare, but some of those cones are a little more intermittent in size between Jeffrey and coulter. So I wonder if I'm seeing a hybrid here. This could potentially have hybrid DNA in it. Sometimes I come across that. Jeffrey and coulter pines are very closely related. They're both yellow pines. They're both in the yellow pine section or subgroup of the pine genus Pinus. So Jeffrey pines and coulter pines can hybridize, and I've seen evidence of that on a good few to several occasions now. Several occasions. Maybe not quite 10 times, not both fingers, both hands, fingers on both hands, but definitely seen it a good few to several times. Wherever you got coulter and Jeffrey pine growing together, there's a pretty good likelihood there'll be some kind of hybridization going on. And I think coulter pines and Jeffrey pines are, I think they might be more closely related than Jeffreys are to ponderosas, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done any DNA analysis and I don't really have that kind of background to do that, but you're far more likely to see a hybrid between Jeffrey pine and coulter pine than I think you would between ponderosa and Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey and ponderosa pines are much more similar looking than I would say a Jeffrey pine to a coulter pine. But that's not always true either, though. I'm thinking about this as I'm talking. Jeffrey pines kind of look intermediate between the stout coulter pine and the very tall, upright, and often relatively narrow profile of the ponderosa. So Jeffrey pines kind of look intermediate between coulters and ponderosas. I've read some places coulters No, Ponderosas and Jeffreys. I've read some places they hybridize, but I've read other places that it's extremely rare. I kind of tend to agree with the latter. If I ever found a hybrid between a Jeffrey and a Ponderosa, I'd probably be scratching my head, thinking, "What the heck am I seeing here?" That'd be really hard to tell. But I'm wondering, I think that Jeffreys and Ponderosas might send out, I wonder if it's because they send out their pollen cones at different times, their male pollen bearing cones. I'm not sure though. That might be a reason why. There are several places where I've seen Jeffreys and Ponderosas overlapping. I've seen that in the San Bernardino Mountains and the San Gabriel Mountains, in San Bernardino and Los Angeles counties respectively, where Pacific Ponderosas intergrade with Jeffrey pines. So that does happen. It's just kind of interesting to think about that. But usually I see Coulters and Jeffreys together more than I see Ponderosas and Jeffreys. Prior to the Bobcat fire in 2020 over in Los Angeles County, the San Gabriel Mountains, Islip Saddle, according to Tom Chester, a very well-known botanist here in Southern California, who has a lot of blogs and pages on his tchester.org site, discussing the differences between Ponderosas and Jeffreys, how to tell them apart when they're together. A lot of times it's really cool to see when they're together. I've seen it a couple times. Buckhorn Campground is where you'll see some Jeffreys and Ponderosas intermingling. But Islip Saddle used to be a really good place. That's at 6,650 feet along Angeles Crest Highway, where the closed part of Highway 39, San Gabriel Canyon Road, ends up with Angeles Crest Highway. And Islip Saddle, or Tom Chester, was discussing how the Ponderosas and Jeffreys both grew together over there. So that's pretty interesting to think about if you're botanically minded like me. Like I said, I'm far more amateur than Tom Chester. I think he's very formally trained. If not, very well self-trained. I'm assuming he's formally trained and has a lot more botanical experience than I do. I'm an amateur botanist. I don't have any degrees in botany. I've never even taken a botany class. The stuff that I know is by being out in the field, seeing it, going through field guides, and reading people like Tom Chester, who really paint a really good perspective of our botany here in Southern California. And then Wayne's Word, he's a professor at Palomar College near San Marcos. He gives off some pretty darn insightful literature as well about a lot of our plants. So Wayne's Word and Tom Chester, really good people to read if you're interested in botany, much like I very much am. So I get a lot of my knowledge from researching, and calflora.org is another source that I use for learning. So a lot of my knowledge comes from identification, being able to find it in the field. So I love finding different species of plants in the field. But I do like to read up on some deeper subjects about botany, and those aforementioned sites are very, very well endowed with information. All right, well, that's, I guess, my big blab fest for this hike. I'm gonna shut down and start getting towards the trailhead. So we're just about back at the junction with the Big Laguna Trail. So I'm here on the Noble Canyon Trails. I think this is the northern terminus right here, I believe. And we're meeting up with the Big Laguna Trail, which again comes from the Penny Pines and goes this way. So I think I could have looped around, but I have to do a little more research next time. Maybe I can loop around one day and see what I could do. So this is still the Noble Canyon Trail. I mean, no, this is the Big Laguna Trail. I'm tripping. This is the Big Laguna Trail now. I think that was the complete terminus of the Noble Canyon Trail, I believe. I don't think it goes any further than the junction just shy of Sunrise Highway. A pretty nice little hike. Not a long one. Definitely didn't make a big long one out of this. Right now it's 11:49. So I've been out here for an hour and 40 minutes. Like I said, did a little bushwhacking trying to cut down to the Big Laguna Trail on the other side. And that ended up being not a good idea. Ended up bushwhacking. And there's a little picnic table right here. We're just about at Sunrise Highway. There's a small gate there. Just make sure you close it on the way out. In my car, I don't know if you can see it, but behind that sign in the trees is my car. So I was going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my trek out here. It's the first time in several months out here to the Laguna Range. It's nice to be up here in the mountains again. Something that was missing in my life, being up in the higher pine-covered mountains. So I will see you on the next adventure. Thanks for watching once again, and I will see you next time.